Chicago was the perfect location, near the center of the country, the place where the waterways and the rails would all meet, perfect place for anyone or anything to get anywhere. It was like the point of the funnel that everything had to go through.
The city had to build and build quickly, and so they built of wood. It was quick, it was easy, and it was cheap. And there was all sorts of wood flowing into the city.
A lot of these buildings, although they had this hard, impenetrable shell of masonry, the inside was made out of wood. It was growing so fast, nobody ever figured out how to plan it in any cohesive way. So there really weren't a lot of rules.
There were homes next to lumber yards, next to mills, next to businesses. For the most part, homes and businesses were all jumbled together.
By 1871, Chicago was the fastest growing city in the world. The swamps by Lake Michigan had made visionaries into millionaires. But in the summer of 1871, fortunes changed as quickly as the weather.
It was exceedingly dry that summer and fall, and we'd had just over 5 inches of rain between July and September, which is about half normal.
Winter is coming, so people are storing up wood, either coal or wood. So they had a supply of flammable material.
Fire was a real threat in Chicago. People were terrified of fire. It was a city built of wood, and there were lots of fires.
According to legend, on the evening of October 8th, Mrs. Catherine O'Leary is milking her cow in her barn at 137 West DeKoven Street on the city's west side. Around that time, a small fire ignites in the barn. What caused that fire is still being debated nearly 150 years later.
The one thing you can say for sure is it started in the cow barn behind the O'Leary home on DeKoven Street. That's for a fact.
Just before 9 p.m., O'Leary's next-door neighbor runs to the neighborhood fire alarm box to send an alert to the watchtower at the city courthouse. The night operator sends a telegraph to firefighters, but fails to notify the firehouse closest to the fire. By the time firefighters reach the O'Leary barn, about 20 minutes after the first alarm, the fire has spread throughout the block. The watchman rings the bell in the courthouse tower. The sound peals over the city. People look up to see the sky fill with flames. The wind pushes the fire north and east, all the way to the banks of the river.
They did not expect the fire would be able to cross the Chicago River, which is not a hugely wide river, but it had always been an effective barrier for fire protection.
But by 11:30 p.m., the river is in flames.
They had kind of an oily residue, and the Chicago River itself even caught fire from just kind of the grease and the things that were the pollutants on the water. So this was really kind of quite a fire when you even have the river itself burning.
After jumping the Chicago River, a firestorm tears through the city's business district. The heat helps the fire generate its own wind.
In those areas of extreme heat, the air is rising away from the fire. Air rushes in with great force, and it begins to spin. Essentially, you get rotary whirlwinds of fire, and they look like burning tornadoes.
Around 2:30 in the morning, the fire jumps the river a second time, and the wind sends fiery embers into the North District toward the city's only water pumping station. The wooden roof ignites. Soon, it collapses, knocking out the city's water supply. By 3:30 a.m., all hope of saving the city has gone up in smoke. During the night of October 9th, a cold front moves toward Chicago.
the temperatures dropped quite a bit from the 85 mark. It was only in the 50s by the 10th, and then they had some rain with that frontal system.
The cold front most likely moved in and caused this precipitation to occur over the region, over the city. So this rain event was most likely associated with an approaching cold front.
Early Tuesday morning it started to rain, thank God. And I think it helped people psychologically.
Nearly 30 hours after the fire began, the rain extinguishes what is left of the flames.
It was a light rain, but it's believed that the fire just burned itself out. It ran out of fuel. As happens with wildfires, these things consume so much, there's just nothing left to burn.
1/10 of an inch of rain was recorded to have fallen. That's not a significant amount of rainfall. So it's hard to determine whether that is what stopped the fire, or it was a lack of fuel, or just the atmospheric conditions such as the wind and just increase in humidity.
The fire has burned 4 square miles.
All the lawyers' offices are destroyed. All the major hotels are destroyed. All the major department stores are destroyed. All the major banks are destroyed. So these are the institutions, the fabric that form the fabric of a city. They were all gone.
300 people are dead and 100,000 are homeless. A thriving metropolis reduced to smoldering ruins.
If you were standing in Chicago after the fire, you would look over great amounts of land, and everything was gone.
The cause of the fire becomes legend. A cow, a lantern, and a barn. To survive, Chicagoans must outrun the inferno.
The fire was spreading faster than a man can walk.
Flames with dust and smoke and falling bricks and animals stampeding.
The panic, the noise. Nobody even knew which way to run.
The sound, probably that everyone seems to remember, is the bell tolling the city's own doom.
The flames die out, but hope is not extinguished.
This spirit of rebuilding was apparent in the city, even while parts of it were still smoldering and steaming.
There's many people who have said that the Chicago fire was the best thing that could have ever happened to Chicago.